You're not Renee. Changed the name, but it's still got her picture.
There. He's messing with my setup here.
Do you hear the weird static? Is that me?
Yeah, I can't hear you.
I hear like a weird clicking.
My end?
I don't know where it's coming from. It wasn't until you jumped on, so. But it could very easily be me.
I was having issues with my camera.
It's actually, keep talking.
Is it happening now?
Yeah, it happens when you talk. Nope, no, it just happened again and you weren't talking. So maybe it's not you.
Is it happening still?
No, and it actually happened exactly when you started talking.
Okay.
I gotta shut my camera off for a second. I gotta fix something. But I'll still be here. Let's find the zoom on this thing.
Or do you have the MRS, the RFQ that we use for the MRS process?
I can find it. Yes, I sent. What's her name? Renee asked if I had the. I forget what she called it, but I assume she was referring to the rubric, and maybe she wasn't.
Yeah, I think she was talking about the
actual
document because she wants to just revise it for.
Yep.
For the,
Yep, that's me. For some reason I thought she just meant the rubric and not the actual RFP. I think I do. Let's find out. Keep everything. More a matter of did I file it in a place where I could find it. Let's see. I have it. Oh, wait, nope. I don't. I feel like I should have it right here. Usually when it's something I want to refer to again, I code it a little differently, and I did not. All right. I still have a couple minutes so I can find it. At least I think I can find it. Comparative analysis. Found addendum A review criteria.
it's not still on the website, is it? Because it was pulled down once we stopped taking in applications.
Don't know. No. Clean. Norton MRI RFI clean. Well, I think I have one. It's not marked as final, but I think this is it, and it's in Word. Although there is some white space here. Weird. Usually I would mark it as from April 7th. When did we do the? I know we reviewed them in September. When did we open?
I don't remember.
Maybe I'd put it in. I might have it in a different file as opposed to the MRS file. Let me look. Bylaws, info session. Nope. HCA. Non-retail applicants. Web page content.
Everybody is here, right? Is anybody else coming? It's just the four of us, right?
You, me. Oh, Cody. Yep, Cody's here. Hi, Cody. Sorry, I didn't realize other people were jumping on and I'm talking to myself.
All right. So if you want to, yeah, if you feel free to keep looking, Laura, or if you want to, we
I'll
can
keep looking.
try to find it after. All right. So I will call the meeting to order, the March 9th meeting of the EDC. We have Laura Parker, Cody Thompson, Denise Luciano, and myself, Sandy Ollerhead. And also we have Paul DiGiuseppe and a couple special guests. So quick update on membership. Sharon has stepped down from EDC, which then puts Cody in a permanent position. So he gets to vote all the time now. Renee can't stop you anymore. So welcome Cody from alternate to permanent position. Which means we also have now 2 alternate positions open. So if anyone knows of anybody, we're definitely looking to fill those 2 openings. Cody, did you have something to say? Did you have something to add?
Oh, no.
Okay, I thought you unmute yourself. I wouldn't want to cut you off. Okay.
Yay.
Paul, I don't see the Bagels and Cream folks.
I don't either, and I'd sent them the agenda plus the link, so.
Okay, all right, well, we'll see if they join us later. We can always circle back. So next on the agenda is the Blue Star update. So I do see Jeff O'Neill on the call. How you doing, Jeff?
Hello. How are you?
Good, how are you? Welcome.
Good. Very small crew tonight.
It is a small crew, yeah. Lots going on, I guess, right? So we're just, I guess, looking for an update from you. And I think we
Sure.
did have just some general questions about the kind of what was going on with that one property that at one point was going to be the marijuana retail store, and what kind of plans you have for that kind of moving forward, what happened, and
Right. So in big picture wise, phase 2, as you know, we're fully permitted. So we're closing up financing and trying to get in the ground probably in the next 45 to 60 days. So we're working through with the lender, the bonding as one of the requirements. So all that's in the works right now, and the various construction contracts. So everything's coming together. It's been a long process. We want to get that moving as soon as we can. And as far as building 12, we're getting quite a bit of strong interest now that the permits are issued. And once they start seeing the shovels in the ground, we'll probably expect to have that fully leased probably within the next 3 to 5 months. So that's all good news. Now, as it relates to lot 1, where the retail is, just a reminder that when Exit 10 LLC, I think, was chasing and looking at it, is we cannot do financing related to marijuana uses because it's not federally approved. So if that was different at this point, then our financing would allow it, but we're stuck there. And we've had no real interest on the retail other than potential liquor store if the expansion was ever happened. So I guess we're at a point that we're going to start thinking about changing the business plan to go back to industrial and looking at putting 30 to 40,000 square feet on there as another building. So we have an immense amount of demand that's looking for that. We don't have anything that's available for that as we speak right now. So be similar in buildings and would fit on the site, but we'd have to start re-permitting as well and amend the permits that are already there.
Yeah,
Or at least, yes, oh, go ahead, Paul.
I just want to add to what Jeff's saying. When you look, and Jeff certainly could run, circles around me on this, but the real estate data is still showing that retail, it's probably going to have a better year nationally than the last couple of years, but it's still, the pendulum hasn't swung anywhere near back to what it was. And it was trending down anyway. And warehouse, that sort of use with supply chain, transportation, life sciences, that is still a red hot market, especially in Massachusetts, and especially where we are, we're having great access to 495. So, what he's stating is it's certainly supported by the most current research too.
Yeah, and I think that with that location, we would see no issue whatsoever in having that fully occupied in a very short period of time. So we have to work through the designs and to make sure that we modify in the setbacks. We're looking at parking on the front corner, so that keeps the visibility of the whole park, the development, the traffic signal wide open. And then any sort of trucks would be down towards where the terrain gets a little higher at the off ramp. So you wouldn't really see much of that. And some of the existing tenants are looking for expansion now. So that's kind of just a quick update where we stand, but go ahead.
So, I went back and looked at Exit 10's letter of intent, and it was subject only to local state approval and permits. And so I'm wondering why it was not subject to financing. Did the financing change?
Well, and Laura, I can't get into business deal points at this point. So if there's anything there, I'm on a public meeting right now, so I would not disclose any of that at this point.
Okay.
I mean, we wanted to work with them. We wanted to work with them, there's no doubt, but our financing, and when it goes to the investment group that's involved, until it's federally approved, there is nothing that's there. We can't finance it. Our bank that's on all these assets will not accept financing, will not accept a marijuana use. Our leases that we're putting in, any subleasing and things like that, we do not allow anything cannabis related.
And as you know, that company is looking at looking at another site in another part of town now. And
yeah, a year later.
Progress. I'm sorry?
Yeah, a year later. They had proposed to be opened in February of 2022. They're just now finding another location. Their HCA was approved by the select board solely on a recommendation from the EDC that was based almost primarily on that location.
True.
And a letter of intent that they held. So I'm concerned that, we are still looking at undeveloped ground, no tenants, and we had somebody who was able and willing to move forward and thought that they had an agreement to do so.
So Jeff, to circle back back to the drawing board in terms of the design and the planning board and all those pieces since it's a change in from the retail to the industrial. Is that the process now?
That's correct. So the underlying land is zoned industrial. So all we're doing is we'd have to amend the approvals and permits of what was there in the design.
Is that coming up soon? Or maybe that's a question.
We're just starting that. So we're making that business decision to change gears. you know, as it's designed, there's, you know, we're not seeing any retail use. So, nor restaurant use or the likes. So I think that COVID had a dramatic impact on a lot of that. So we'll see where it goes. But right now we're heading the direction of doing industrial on it.
Do we know what happened with the other proposed tenant who failed to move their own petition article at town meeting?
The other approved tenant that failed to do what?
We had a potential tenant. There was a liquor store who was looking to go in there, and that
Yeah,
submitted
he would be interested, Laura, but there's, at this point in time, until the town changes its rules to go ahead and allow more liquor stores, there's nothing to be had there.
Okay, but he proposed a petition, a citizen's petition, to get that liquor license, and then never moved it on the town meeting floor. Do we know why?
I can't answer that. I don't know why. So he was the operator. I have no idea why that happened.
Paul, what's the timeline? Like, how much of a process is that to go from one to the other? Is it lengthy in terms of switching, like, you know, amending it from a retail to industrial? Is that sort of a starting from scratch process, or is that a little fast paced?
It should be a faster, because this is would be a modification to the original decision. And actually, in some ways, this would be creating fewer impacts because retail would have higher number of trips and parking associated with it than this. So, you know, it's very possible, and they'd still have to go through a public hearing with the notifications and all, but this, you know, this would be done in a relatively short amount of time with the planning board. I mean, they would probably ask Jeff questions about why isn't retail working, but Jeff can answer that. And again, I can, you know, provide some supporting data with it too. I mean, obviously we wanted to see retail there, but it's not a Norton thing. It's just happening all over, that retail's still in the doldrums. But I would think this would be done. I'm sorry?
We have our marketing group, that's CBRE, that's on the asset. And as you go through a list of 200 retailers, you know, everything is no, no, no. So.
Yeah, but I would think this would be a fairly short process for the planning board. I mean, obviously I can't speak on their, you know, for what they would do, but this is not a complicated thing that they're asking to do.
Well, in addition, the value of these buildings have greatly increased, so it's just no longer just a warehouse building. You know, these asset classes are expensive and things have gone up. They're almost equal into retail value. So on top of that, you'd be getting the building permit fees would be included. All of that would come together, and plus it's tax growth.
Great, sounds great. Any other questions from the committee? Cody or Denise?
Nope. I think I understood what was going on.
Right, and Jeff, anything you need from us on the EDC?
No, I think we're good at this point in time.
Great.
We'll stay in touch.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming in and taking the time to give us an update. I'm sure you talk to Paul and you know, keep us updated as to how that process is going, and let us know what we can do to support it.
No problem.
All
You
right,
got
great.
it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Good night.
Bye.
All right, business updates. I see Alyssa on the call. And Alyssa, do you want to announce your news or do you want me to?
He's a rock star.
Oh my God, it
nailed
looks
it last
terrible.
night. You know, one of the planning board members stopped by today, and he was so impressed with what you did and the team, your team. So.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, no, the planning, I was just blown away by how smooth everything went. You know, I honestly didn't think that they were gonna vote on it, you know, that night. I thought that, you know, maybe they would need some time to think about it, but, you know, they just moved it right along, and the residents as well. You know, I was really surprised just you know, how great everything went. So yes, we got, the news is that we got our special permit and site plan approved. So that was really exciting. And now I have a meeting with Nick next week to go over some of the requirements for the building permit. I know we have to wait 20 days before doing anything, but, you know, just hearing the requirements and getting started on, you know, what's next. So yeah, we're not trying to waste any time here. Trying to get this in as fast as possible. So, and thank you, Sandy and Laura, for coming last night, and Sandy for your kind words. That really meant a lot. That was so nice. And I think that, you know, the board could tell as well, or just was able to get a feel for, you know, how committed I am as an operator and a partner in town. So thank you.
I made the comment last night and I stand by. I think you've been to more EDC meetings than I have. I think I've missed more than you have.
Oh, I love coming. If I could be a member, I would. I love it.
Well, we love having you here and joining in on the meetings, and congratulations on that next step. So you said next is, what's the 20 days? I missed that part. You have to wait 20 days for?
There's an appeal period for
gotcha.
any of these. So it's 20 days when the decision gets stamped by the clerk. So right now we drafted up the decision. I've sent it to the chair for him to review it. Then when he gives me the okay, we'll send it to the planning board chair for him to sign. And then once we get that from him, so, you know, it probably at the latest we'll get it. I'm hoping Monday. It's possible we could get it Friday, you know, but probably more likely Monday. Then we get it clerk stamped, and then 20 days from that date. And then you would then file it with the Registry of Deeds, and you're off to the races.
Awesome. Yeah. And then after that, I have to submit a architectural review plan to the Cannabis Control Commission. And Caroline Frankel from Caroline's Cannabis was telling me that that takes about 30 days for them to review and approve. And that's just pretty much like a simple application of what you're going to be doing, you know, special permit. You have to submit your building permit. So I have to wait until I get that permit before I can submit this application. But yeah, once the commission approves, then I can start build out. So I'm gonna, after I talk to Nick, I'm gonna start reaching out to different contractors. So I don't know, Paul, if you have like, remember you gave me that list of the septic inspectors, if you had something similar for contractors, because I would love to hire local.
I talk with Nick. Nick
Okay.
would be able to tell you that. He probably has a list of people that are, you know, does work locally.
Great. Yeah. And then start getting quotes, and then hopefully choose somebody, you know, by the time that the commission gets back to me, and so we can get started right away. And we did buy our first vehicle. I said that last night in the planning board meeting, but we bought our first vehicle. It's a Toyota Prius. And we're fitting it up now. So we just bought one for now to kind of as our demo vehicle to, you know, see the, you know, the boxes that we bought and the cameras that we bought, you know, are gonna work out for us. So once we get that down, then we can, you know, really start purchasing more of the fleet. So yeah.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you for having me
Good
on.
plan with a Prius nowadays.
What's that?
Good plan with the Prius nowadays.
You know, like they're so gas efficient, and you know, they're even using them now as taxis. You know, they have a long lifespan. So that was kind of our decision on it. Once we realized how big the boxes had to be, we were like, you know, we don't really need a van or an SUV. May get one down the line for like snow days, but I mean, that really only snows what 10 days out of the whole year. So not even. So that will come secondary, I think. But I think that the Toyota Priuses are a great start.
That's great. Anyone
Thank
have
you.
any questions for Alyssa? All right, well, again, congratulations, and we look forward to continuing to hear updates as things move along, and you know, when you're up to your big opening day.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, anybody have any other business updates? I mean, we certainly have, and I can't remember what we talked about last meeting, but Guy's Kitchen opened, so that was nice yesterday. We have Tasty Bagels. Am I saying that right? Is that the right name?
Yeah.
They're coming in. Okay, I think April is what they put in there.
Yeah, I don't know if I need to talk to Nick and see if they've reached out to him yet, or they probably need to also go to the Chris Zonner, our health agent. I'll reach out to them too, just to, make an introduction.
Any other new businesses or other updates?
Of course, there's the India Farmers Market.
Yeah.
It's huge.
We have a date on that when that's opening?
I don't. They're working on it, right now. They've been working on it for a few weeks. So I don't know when I only had a very brief contact with one of the owners. But I know Nick has been going in there and, they're moving along, but I don't know when they're opening. I would assume a month or two.
Are
But
they using the full space or are they subdividing it up?
my understanding was it's the full space from what Roach Brothers had. It's a big, it's a big store. But I want to find out more about what they're doing, but we'll probably all find out at the same time.
Right. Anybody have anything else to that? Go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, I don't know the name of it, but a woman's going to be opening up a cafe on, I can't remember the address, but it's on West Main Street. So she just recently leased out one of the units there. So, I've got her contact information, but her name's Jenna, and she's really excited about going. She'll be doing a lot of healthier foods, and will be a cafe. So,
Which Main Street? You said it's going
West.
In a unit in Main Street, West Main Street, but where?
I can't remember the address, and I'm trying to remember what was there before, but you know what? I can look up an email and let you know.
Okay.
Great.
Now, that's
Is it in a-
exciting. It's small, but
Yeah.
it's exciting.
Is it in a plaza?
It is. And I also let me look this up and then I'll give you an update about it. Is at, well, she hasn't, announced it all, but 199 West Main Street, which I'll pull that up and if you want to see it. Trying to get Google Maps here.
Does she have a lot to do to get that set up for the cafe, or is it close to what it already is or was?
So I can't share the screen, but I can tell you, and Sandy, I'll answer that in just a second.
Okay.
But she's across from the cemetery on West Main. So she's actually not too far from Sweet Stuff, but she doesn't view herself as a competitor since she's not doing the same foods as Melanie is over at Sweet Stuff. So this is a remodel. So I was there when she was talking with Nick, and the main thing was seeing if they had to make any ADA improvements to the restroom, which Nick was just pointing out he would be looking at that. She didn't know what they would have to go look and see if it's already met ADA requirements, and Nick had to even see if she even triggered the need to do that. So
looks like it might be in the area where in the building where the consignment shop used to be. It's Salon Dimage is in there. And there used to be a consignment shop, and I'm not sure what is in there now. It's next to the gas station, not the gas station, the car
Barber
wash.
shop. Oh, the car wash, yep.
Yeah, other way, yeah.
Yeah, so that's coming. And then just letting you know too, last night, planning board reviewed on Mansfield Ave, right next to Auto Part International. There's a proposal for 100,000 square foot flex space building. And, we've worked with the applicant a lot. Our peer reviewer looked at it. There's only essentially issue of them having to make some changes to their stormwater plan. Planning board really didn't have many questions about it. And we expect in 2 weeks, they'll be making a decision on that. So that it's important. I mean, what Jeff was pointing out about the building that's 60,000 square feet, that there's already huge demand. There is huge demand and we have no vacancy. So as much as we can get these flex spaces approved and get them under construction, occasionally we get calls from companies looking to relocate and we don't have any availability. So this could be a big thing if this 100,000 square feet can go in, and it's a great location because it's right next to Auto Part International and it's flanked on one side by the TPC golf course, and it's close to it's only a mile or so from the 495 interchange, so it's a great location. So hopefully we'll see that underway soon enough.
So lots of things going on, right? You guys must be busy on the planning board. All these
Yeah, we've got to get things done before the April 30th meeting. So we do have a few more things that have come in. We've got one bill, we've got a billboard that was a digital billboard that was approved, but now it's been appealed by the person who is wanting the billboard to be located right next to them. So that billboard now that one has, the second billboard has been submitted. So that's coming in, and we've got a small project, and then we've got a few other projects that are in the planning works, but they are now at a point where it's too late for them to submit. And we have 3 seats up for planning board. And, I've been advising people for a few months now, it's like, don't go beyond this point. You don't want to be in a situation where the planning board is forced to make a decision at their April 26th meeting, because if they don't vote on something, then the project is going to have to get withdrawn because they won't have enough members to vote. So I'm going to hate to see this planning board, however it changes. They've been great since this last election. They have been very efficient getting to decisions. A lot of applicants have just been very happy because they've been treated well, and they've, Jeff's was the most complicated, but it was complicated. So you're not going to rush that through, but these others have been, I don't want to say fast, but they've been very efficient. They feel like they're very focused and pretty much cut to the chase. So come April 30th, we'll see what happens. But this group's been great.
Yeah, I think Tim runs a very good meeting.
Yeah. And the members have just been, I think they ask spot on questions. Should mention too, we've got a couple of zoning changes coming in. I'd like to hold off on those until, if we can, in 2 weeks to talk about what those are. But those are going to go to the June 8th town meeting. So those will go to the planning board, and some of them absolutely have an economic development impact. So
Yeah, great.
we'll
That's
see
cool.
that with-
All right, well, we can, I'll make sure to let Renee know to add that to the next meeting though. Have you already talked to her about that or?
I haven't, no. I know she's trying to say Ukraine right now or something along those lines, but
I'll just make a note to make sure that that gets brought up next time.
yeah.
Right. Anybody else have anything, business updates? All right, so then next on our agenda and last thing, unless we have any minutes, is coming up with a process to evaluate applicants for liquor licenses. And I think from what I understand, the history on this, they're looking possibly if we do get another liquor license or anytime we get another liquor license or one opens up, just to have some sort of a process. And I think Renee brought up the fact that the MRS committee that we had formed for the marijuana retail applicants was probably a good base to start with. That the same process could be kind of followed with an independent subcommittee. We could describe who's supposed to make that up. And that we could kind of as the EDC take a look at that RFQ process that we had for the retail marijuana and adapt to liquor licenses and how that would work. I think again they're looking for sort of an independent group to review before. She was mentioning something it definitely gets into sort of a legal a little bit of legality where they have 30 days to after the application process to have to respond to them within 30 days. And so I think some wording has to be looked at as to, so that we have a little bit more than 30 days to review, to say that that timeline doesn't start until this independent group has reviewed the application. So I think they're kind of working that out with legal counsel, but it does sound like it has to be a little bit of a quicker process than maybe what we did for the marijuana. So if we can streamline in any way, I think that would be, and I think, certainly we learned some things from that process that maybe we could streamline and make a little bit more efficient. So Laura, did you find that document?
No, I'm still looking. Sorry, and I've been trying to pay attention. I will keep looking. Did you want it now? I mean, I have a draft.
You have the draft, okay. Or Denise, did you have it at all? Because I thought who would have been the one who actually created the document?
I think it was Renee. I think Renee published it.
Like
Okay.
the rank document they're looking for?
The
Andy?
actual MRS.
The RFQ, right? To
Oh,
that went to the MRS, yeah.
I think Renee created it. I'm sure I have it in my email somewhere, Sandy. I can look.
Yeah, because I think we're starting with that as a base and then kind of tweaking it to see if we can get a draft together to put forward to select board to get their input then.
Can I ask a question just regarding liquor? I understand the EDC and getting involved with the reviewing the marijuana retail applicants. I'm just because we developed the bylaw and got the articles and did the whole process, we kind of were more familiar with the ins and outs of the regulations surrounding it. Should we be either as many complexities with liquor? Do we need some sort of tutorial so that we can intelligently speak to liquor, which, it is still a controlled substance, but I'm assuming the laws are different.
Well, I think, so it's not necessarily coming to the EDC. It would be a subgroup we would make up. We could decide if all of the EDC is going to make that up, as like we did with marijuana. We could also make sure, I think we include people with that knowledge. Like we had Paul on the last on MRS, right? Mike was on the MRS. So I don't know who else might be helpful in that area of sort of giving us that background, that insight that we need.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to do the work. I just don't want to be blind. That's all.
Well, I mean, I think typically it's the select board that does that in most cases, or has been doing that in the past, right? So I don't know that they have any special knowledge of.
I'm
of
just saying, if we're being asked to kind of develop the process to review them, don't we have to have at least a working knowledge of how the regulations work?
I mean, I would assume that, just like with marijuana, that they have to have all the state approvals, right, before we can even consider. And then we're just looking for what sets one apart from the other.
Yeah, I would say the same because isn't it like ABC commission or whatever that oversees them, similar to the CCC?
Yeah.
So I would just be looking at it like a regular retail location and just trying to rank them to figure out which would be the best opportunity for the town. How many do we have? One of them? Is it just one license?
I think this is, I think this is partly in anticipation of if we add a license or anytime a license, becomes available.
Comes up.
Yeah, for any
Okay.
reason, if someone stops using the license and it becomes available.
Gotcha.
Denise, were you able to find it in your email?
Still looking.
Oh, wait, I think I found it on the website.
I'm finding the RFI submissions, but I'm trying to find the actual.
I got it. I got a PDF on the website, which I should be able, actually, that might be Word. Hang on. I think I found it. Give me a second. I just got to open it. It is in Word. I'll be damned.
Cody, I can't remember when you joined us.
I got it.
It was after the, yeah, I searched my emails, but. by
I
the
was
time
just wondering how
joined-
much history you had with it, if you had any questions on what our process was.
Do you want me to send it to you? Do you want me to share it on the screen?
Share it, yeah, if that's okay.
Got it. All right. And it's in Word, even better.
Oh, nice, perfect.
Make sure everything is here. Yeah, it even has the addendum. All right.
All right,
Is it big enough? Everybody can see?
that's great.
All right. Do you want me to edit it as we go? Is that the intent? I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So first thing I guess we get away from is marijuana. Package. What do
Isn't
we
it,
call them?
isn't it just
Liquor stores?
a liquor license,
Like a
right?
license? Just liquor license?
Mhm.
Application. Request for information for liquor license. Consideration.
I think consideration sounds good.
Yeah, let's start that anyway.
For consideration of liquor license or for liquor license consideration.
Liquor license consideration.
Okay. Okay. Do we want to call it a RFI still?
I think so, yeah.
So it's for people looking to open a, would you just say liquor retail establishment?
Or just to obtain one of our liquor licenses, right?
Oh, yeah, liquor license, yep.
Yeah.
So is the purpose for this to open a liquor retail store, or is this also for, say, restaurants and bars?
A liquor store,
So it's limited to the establishment itself? I mean, I'm sorry, the retail sales?
correct.
Okay.
Oh, it is? Okay. Wait, yeah. So
Those are
I guess-
different licenses, right? Like the restaurant, the serving license is different than retail sale of liquor, right?
Right.
Yes. I remember having that confusion when we first started talking about whether or not we wanted to increase by 1 or 2, whatever. But I was also thinking that it included restaurants, but it does not.
Right, I'm not sure if that's necessarily an issue right now, or in terms of how that process works right now. My understanding was this was more for the retail,
Right, so I think we want to specify it's for retail, right?
right?
Should we put the word, should we put the word
Sales?
retail in front of the title where it says liquor license consideration? Retail liquor license consideration?
How about just sales?
Well, what is it? What is the liquor license called? What are the different ones called? It have specific, must have a specific name versus the one that's,
Oh, they do?
Alcoholic beverages local retail license. I'm just looking at mass.gov.
Alcoholic beverages state license. Yeah, so it's alcoholic beverages state license, alcoholic beverages local retail license. The alcoholic beverage state license looks like it's to for distribution and storage and transportation and manufacturing. And the other one's for retail. So I don't really know what the one for that restaurants gets called. Hang on a second, I'll keep looking.
Maybe it's part of the common vic? Or is it separate?
are you looking on the ABC site, Denise?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
says-
was.
Yeah, yeah, so alcoholic beverages retail license, right, is what you're seeing? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, one's for retail and one is for like manufacturing, transportation, storage, etc.
All right, excellent.
All right, so alcoholic beverages local retail license.
I think it's just called a alcoholic beverages local retail. Wait. Nope, wait a minute. Oh, there's a nice little ABCC frequently asked questions.
Well, yeah, is this this is an RFI for the license, not necessarily the establishment, or are they tied together?
Well, license is tied to a location.
No, so it's similar to the marijuana where they have to have a location before they apply for the license.
Right.
Okay.
So here's the different classifications of retail licenses. There's one that's called on premises, commonly referred to as pouring license, restaurants, etc. There's a special one commonly referred to as a 1-day license, which is what we issue for like the parties in the park thing. And then this one's called an off premises, commonly referred to as a package store license.
Okay.
So we don't have to call it that.
And then there's Yeah, and then there's 4 categories: all alcoholic, wine only, malt only, or wine and malt. So I'm wondering if we should specify this, because we're talking about all, will this process be the same for all, maybe? I don't know.
I'm just curious I guess if we could step back on that, what is it that we're seeking to do with this? I mean, I haven't been as involved with you all, so what's the purpose of what we're doing with this?
So I think, given the last, with the town meeting article, with the extra liquor license or liquor licenses, that conversation started in terms of we might get extra liquor licenses. And so there was some question as to how do you come up with a fair way of deciding who gets those licenses? And I think select board, was a little concerned with the process and with them being the only ones to make that decision. They wanted like an independent group to review applications and kind of make the decision as to which ones would get the licenses.
Okay, thank you. But this is ultimately then about moving forward with the possibility of adding retail stores.
Right.
So wouldn't be the pouring license or the event license.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might suggest maybe like one of us take a stab at redlining it and then sending it around for red lines, just so we can have time to think about the terminology and making sure it's in the right, sentence structure and all of that, and that we're clear about which license we're talking about.
So I'm wondering if we can at least decide tonight, like who would be on this committee. Some of the types of questions that might be, from before that might be transferable to this, as opposed to necessarily wordsmithing, getting into the specifics. I think that can kind of be tweaked later on. I think that's your piece, right?
I'm sorry, I missed that last part, Sandy. It was a little choppy, sorry.
It's to kind of not get more clarity on what we want to call this, but I think we can make some of the decisions, at least to kind of talk about what's going to be in this that's transferable, right?
Yeah, but I think, like, I was just thinking, like, I want to be clear about what license we're talking about in here for the scope of the RFI. And I would probably reference the specific ABCC section number, so that way the applicant knows we're looking for an all alcohol retail storefront, like those kinds of things, to make sure it's clear, because there's a wide variety of the different licenses, and I don't want to complicate and get applications for, a wine and beer license or something when that's not what we're looking for.
Well, I mean, would it be any different in terms of our criteria for beer and wine versus liquor?
Well, I guess, I mean, the process could be the same, right? But what kinds of licenses are we talking about whittling down with this particular RFI?
It's definitely not restaurants that we're concerned about. It's more the retail, whether that includes liquor or just beer and wine. I don't know how much that changes, the composition of the committee and the kinds of questions we would ask. Seems like they would transfer over to either one of those.
Gotcha.
Right,
Yeah,
so
I think.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think
Go ahead, please.
I think the retail can be used for any of those options, right? Beer and wine, just beer, or all alcohol retail licenses. I think maybe we could just use that as a weighting if there's one that we would prefer to see, right? Maybe that's a weighted factor that we include.
I think there's a distinction between the license type, between like beer and wine versus liquor. I think that was my understanding, that there's two separate ones, and the liquor licenses are way harder to get.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I think that mainly is what the focus was here, but I don't see why this couldn't also be used for a beer and wine. I think a restaurant would be a different set of criteria, right? I don't think we want to expand it the same format that far. So if later down the road they, for whatever reason, the select board wanted us to come up with that criteria, I think that would be kind of a separate document. Does that make sense, Denise?
I'm sorry, I was looking at the ABCC stuff in your session. Can you repeat that last part?
I'm just saying, I think we should focus this on liquor, and then also I think it would apply to beer and wine, but kind of think liquor, because that's really where this all came from, was a next license. It probably would also transfer into beer and wine, but it definitely, I don't think would transfer into as easily into the restaurants. So that would be kind of a separate process if down the road, select board said that they wanted that done out too.
Right, I would agree.
So we can kind of focus. And again, I guess I'm not, is because I think Renee was hoping that to get something before select board, at least a draft of sort of the major things. I think they can kind of wordsmith the specifics a little bit later, but because the select board will be reviewing this and adding their own touches to it. So I think if we can kind of focus on big picture decisions of who should be on the board, what should the process be, what kind of questions should we ask for?
So my understanding, for whatever that's worth, is that we're basically like pre-vetting this before it gets before select board, and rooting out people that don't have their stuff together, or just doing the basic due diligence, I guess. So
Right.
is
Also, I
there,
think possibly like we did we kind of ranked them a little bit, top two,
Yeah.
Prioritized them for marijuana retail. So we can, ultimately it's up to them, just like it was with the HCA's, to make the decision, but kind of giving them a recommendation based on some objective criteria.
Yeah, would it be worthwhile asking the select board, who's always been the ones that have made the decision, for their input on some of their criteria? Like, I can come up with a few questions off the top of my head, but I mean, if they have things that are major things that they want to consider, that we can start vetting and helping any of the applicants that are going for the license, try and get what are the key considerations that the board is going to look at in determining who gets the license.
My understanding is they don't really have that right now. They don't have a super objective process, and they want us to use the same types of questions. I think a lot of those questions that we had up there. Laura, do you mind sharing that again?
No.
I think a lot of those questions can kind of be rewritten and adjusted to the types of things that would be beneficial for a liquor license as well.
I mean, I know the questions that I'm thinking of whenever we were going through with Oasis and what was the other one?
Queensbridge.
Queensbridge, thank you. Was more around like, do you know what you're doing? What's the business plan look like? Kind of get an idea, because it's an emerging market. So you want to like pre-vet and say, you don't want to issue the license to somebody that isn't going to be successful. You want them to be a successful business. And in an established market like, liquor, alcohol sales, it's there's less of a concern. I mean,
so Cody, I don't know if you've seen this. This is kind of what our questioning was based on initially, was this document here. And we sort of, I think a lot of the same questions we asked for for Queensbridge and Oasis came from this piece here, which was the retail. So I guess I want to look and see how many of these questions would be applicable to that. For first, like right away, application form of intent, documentation that the entity has applied for, license with ABC, right? Isn't that the kind of the first step there?
Yeah.
Certificate of good standing. So they probably, I'm not sure if there's an extra piece there that they need from the state. So that's kind of all the state documents there, that we need their address, proposed addresses, right, for the license. So a lot of that and evidence that I don't think we need that F part, right? So Laura, do you want to kind of start tweaking those pieces there?
I'm gonna
Yeah,
red
I'll-
line or you want me to strike?
You can strike
Um,
it.
Yeah,
All right, hang on. Let me save this as a. I do have a question, Sandy. Did you happen to read or watch the section of the last select board meeting? They had an attorney who spoke for a good 30 or 45 minutes, and I kept meaning to go back and watch it. But it talked about how to do the process, and I don't know whether he got into this kind of specific detail, and maybe we should watch that.
so I think that's where the 30-day piece came in, right? Was
Okay.
that they have, so there's something in the wording that says that they have 30 days from submission to respond back to the applicant. And so the attorney apparently was saying something along the lines of, you could word it in a way such that it said 30 days from the time that this was reviewed by whatever committee. I think that was kind of the main pieces of discussions, and then just some of the procedural pieces from there. You know, all this obviously would have to go to town council, but that was kind of the gist of the discussion. So I mean, just so you know, I think, you know, Renee is kind of hoping that this goes, whatever we come up with tonight goes to the select board next, before their next meeting. So kind of just an outline even, you know, and it gets their feedback, and then obviously we can keep tweaking it at our next meeting, but just to kind of have a starting point, I think is what they're looking for their next select board meeting.
And when is their next meeting, Sandy?
I would guess next Wednesday, right, Laura? So that's why I'm saying, I think we
Yeah.
just want a broad brush here of what kinds of questions we would ask, what of these apply. They can certainly add questions to it or take questions away if they don't care about it. But you know, what in here can we transfer over to a liquor license?
So is there a state license and a local license?
Do they
We
need to
know-
have a special? Do they need to have a special permit for a retail liquor store? Paul, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do they need a special permit for a liquor store?
Liquor stores, I believe you do. Let me check. But I would assume yes.
Do we know if they need a license from the?
Yeah, they need
Okay.
some sort of ABCC approval,
Right,
right?
ABC, that's the ABCC.
Right.
B is probably the same. C, the persons of the entities having direct control. That's probably a requirement specifically for marijuana, not that it's bad information to collect, but at least that reference is probably not correct.
So two, Laura, ABCC.
Yep. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna
Well,
just do a blanket find replace.
Yeah,
so our wonderful bylaw, I don't think actually has a specific use for liquor stores. Because the only thing with liquor is restaurants, nightclubs, and other places serving food or beverages. And that's allowed as of right, but that's really a restaurant and entertainment. And then I don't see anything that specifically says liquor stores unless we consider it as
just the retail.
just regular retail. Oh,
Yeah, I
well,
mean, maybe once the license is issued by ABCC, it's just handled as a regular retail store.
that would be I mean, we should have had something in here. And, you know, one of the changes we're proposing some use changes to the use table that you're gonna see at the Springtown meeting, but we did not include liquor stores. We weren't looking specifically for that. And we've already submitted I have to check and see if we might be able to add that, but we've already submitted, you know, the warrant closed on Monday. But we don't specifically have liquor store. but we have them, so we must have approved them somehow.
Yeah, do we know if there is something similar through the ABC where they have to provide a list of all persons or entities having direct or indirect control? Is
Yeah,
that
that's what I mean about trying to do it online here today, is that we're gonna be researching it as we're going through it,
Hmm.
and it's gonna be a painful exercise.
Well, that doesn't necessarily relate to, well, that could also be something we're looking for, right?
We may have an interest in the first part of that sentence. I think what she's asking Sandy is there a similar reference to what we have here, 935 CMR 500.002? Like, is there a similar one for liquor?
So
I don't know. We have to look it
I
up,
would
right?
refer to town council. I don't think we necessarily need to research all this, because again, town council is going to be reviewing it all. That's, a lot of that was provided by them in the first place.
So do I guess I'm asking, do I leave C or do I remove C?
I would say, we still want the list of persons, even if the state doesn't ask for it? Isn't that something we would want?
So maybe leave it and then just strike the reference to the statute, Laura, and put in parentheses, like question, is there a statute requiring this with ABCC or something like that?
Okay.
Or requiring it for the state, I should say.
So Laura, there's just a second C in the ABC. So ABC.
Yeah.
Oh, there is. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Approval from the ABCC for a liquor's license. And then it goes on to say, with the ABC is an entity registered to do business in Massachusetts. Why does that sound so weird?
I think we just want documentation that the entity applying for approval, the entity has approval from the ABCC, right, for a liquor license?
It says is an entity registered to do business in Massachusetts.
So the mass.gov site says the licensing process for on-premises and package store licenses involves 3 steps. The LLA, the local licensing authority, grants the retail license. Then the ABCC approves the granting of such license. Then the LLA issues the license upon payment of the license fee. So the first, they have to go through both steps. If they've got to get approval from the board, from the select board, to get the license issued, then they have to be approved through the ABCC, and then they have to purchase or pay the licensing fee. So I think part of the process for them is, the same way that on the marijuana, they've got to go through the CCC. They're also going to have to go through the state. So the select board would determine who gets approved for the license. They still have to go through the state to get approval through the state, which has that same process. Where they have to go through and do all their applications. They've got, Corey and a bunch of other stuff that they have to do.
So can we just keep it general, Laura, to say that the documentation that the entity has state approval from the ABCC? And then they can add to whatever.
Well, I think that's if I'm understanding what Cody had said, this is the first step and they can't do the state part until they get this. So we can't control. I think we can make sure that they have the potential to be approved by the ABCC, but I don't think we can make that a requirement if that's a separate second step.
Do we want to just put a question mark there next to that one then, and again, have them? I guess I just want to kind of get to the main gist of the questions, right? As opposed to the state process, like what are our questions going to be?
All right, so this is in regards to A.
Yeah, so maybe just a question mark to say is if this, whether this is needed to do first, or if you know, that's not part of the process.
I guess a question I'd have is, you know, if we, for the marijuana retail establishments, setting up the HCA, they still have to go through all the process with the CCC, which is a long process for them to get approval on. But if they don't clear it with the CCC, you still have, like, you revoke their license and you can reissue it to someone else, right? So that there's like fail safes built in.
Well, that process was the CCC approved first.
So the CCC has to approve them.
Right.
They
So
still have to
when
get,
they come to us, they have to go through that process with the CCC, and that kind of lengthy process.
They have to start the application at the CCC to even come to us.
And then the final step is kind of getting the HCA here and then going back. I think at that point, once they get the HCA, you know, at that point, the CCC, there's probably a period of time, but it seems, you know, at that point, it's kind of a done deal. So yeah, I think we don't necessarily need part B, right, at all?
And can
I
I
don't-
make a comment?
Sure.
Sorry, I don't know if this is appropriate or not. But there's actually, the town is the first step. There's no CCC type vetting process before the applicant approaches the town. For the equity applicants, they just started with delivery, doing like a pre-application. But the purpose of that was, you know, for smaller business owners to have like a pre-certification in hand that they could leverage with landlords or the towns to kind of give them, you know, a little bit of an advantage. Or I guess to make it equitable for the smaller people. But yeah, you guys are, the town is pretty much like the first step to the process. They don't
So-
have to approach the CCC first.
So why was this question, was that true for the retail as well, Melissa?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
this is all the information we asked for initially from retail.
Yeah, I mean, we had to submit the question is about surrounding the certificate of good standing, is that correct?
What did the original say now? I forget, Laura.
Hang on. Is this still sharing, or did it switch when I switched?
No, this application of intent, right?
So A used to read documentation that the entity applying for the marijuana retailer license with the CCC is an entity registered to do business in Massachusetts.
Okay, so it wasn't asking for anything from the CCC.
No, just
So we're
that,
asking to see if they're registered to do business in Massachusetts.
that's all.
That's all. Okay, all right. That's not what I thought that question was asking.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to take out the question mark there.
All right, so we do want part B then too, right?
Yeah, I don't see the point of leaving in the CCC here. It's just documentation that the entity applying for approval is an entity registered to do business in Massachusetts.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. Certificate of good standing is kind of the same thing, no?
I think
Or I
like
guess it's related.
a little bit, yeah, it's related. It's on that same.
All right.
right in that same realm, but I think it's a little bit different.
All right. C, we're good with. Documentation with regards to resources. Do they need a proposed address and parcel ID?
Yep.
Okay.
But they don't need to show. Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say they don't need to show that it's in the right zone.
So
Right?
we took that out already.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay. All right. Business profile, management, operations. All right. So security is still an issue, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Personnel policies. Are we concerned about those? Sort of. I mean, it's still a controlled substance. We do want to prevent access to minors. Storage is a little different because a liquor store doesn't need a vault.
Right.
I think you take that out.
Okay.
They can get rid of
Uh,
queuing of customers down the bottom of F7.
Yeah. Also, they're not allowed to deliver, correct? So we could take out transport.
Transportation both to and from. I thought that meant on-site deliveries.
I was gonna say, do they not
That-
deliver? 'Cause
Deliveries to the
Oh, so it's like a distributor's delivery.
right, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Delivery to customers we can take out. 'Cause
Right.
State doesn't allow.
How does
Parking
that
is,
factor? I'm sorry,
Well,
Laura,
but-
how does that factor these companies like Drizzly that deliver liquor
Or Uber Eats or
homes? What's that, Cody?
Uber Eats. I mean, Drizzly's
Yeah.
the biggest one, but I think you can get it through there's a couple of different options, depending on
So
who
they-
they're
Yeah, I've
partnered with.
gotten deliveries from Wines and More before too, but it's
Yeah.
probably
Well, I'm wondering, is that something that we should factor here, or because these other companies are independent of the liquor stores? I don't really, I
To your point though, Denise, Wines and More, that wasn't a third party, it was them, wasn't it?
I don't remember now.
Yeah,
It's,
I've gotten their I don't know if it was a COVID exception or if that's normally something they do.
Maybe just put in parentheses after it if applicable.
or these third party delivery services.
okay. Record keeping, maintenance of financial records is. Are we as concerned about that with a liquor store where the CCC has very strict protocols with regards to, making sure that everything is accounted for? There's no loss.
I think.
Because they
wouldn't
want,
that-
right? Isn't that more to make sure that they're being transparent about their percentage to us and to the state?
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's kind of
I
what
was thinking,
for.
okay,
So we don't need that then, right? Because we're not getting anything from it.
no. All right,
Yeah.
so I'm going to strike that.
That's marijuana related too, because they can't do business through banks.
Qualifications of all close associates with managerial or operational control. Do we care?
I think it might set one apart from the other, no?
Okay. Disclosure of planned or existing ownership interest. Do we care about this?
I don't think so.
The CCC regulates retailers. They can only have 3 establishments in the state. I don't think there may be, maybe the ABCC does limit it. Do we care? I guess the
No.
other.
No.
Okay.
I I don't think it'd be a factor that would weigh differently.
Disclosure of full details of any other type of establishment to be co-located at the same site? No. Doesn't seem applicable, no.
No, that was for like the ones that combination manufacturing / retail.
Yeah. Plans for expansion of other types in the town in the future. Don't think we care.
No,
Okay. Do we care about training plans for employees?
We do, right? Because you want to make sure that they know, again, we don't want to serve to minors, right? We have a.
Yep. Yeah.
the
The
only
state
other thing
kind of
I would add
controls that.
that's I think unique to these that wasn't as much of an interest, I don't think, in the marijuana, but could we somehow get input onto like the types of variety of alcohol they plan to have in their establishment? I mean, that might be part of the business plan, but should we specify that specifically?
Can I just ask the question, what are we looking at? I know it just came on late. What are we reviewing as a board?
We are looking at the RFP process for the marijuana retail establishments that we had developed with the MRS committee. And we're trying to adapt it to a process for choosing who gets.
Alcohol.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right, so application management and operations profile. Do we want details like on the size and scope of the store?
I mean, I
That
think
what you're
size
getting at, Denise?
yeah, exactly.
Was that not something we asked for before? With
It doesn't
marijuana?
look like it. No, I kind of, it's just assumed you're selling marijuana. That's not. Yeah. There's. It'd be
they all-
kind of hard to. It'd be hard to have a superstore. There's just not enough
Yeah,
product or
probably all
variety out there.
Similar
Right.
size, right? Okay, makes sense.
Details of the proposed establishment,
Maybe scale and
size, scope, inventory, or stock. What's the word I want? Not inventory. Inventory. Size and
Variety?
scope. Yeah.
A variety of the products, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. Like, are they going to be like a wine focused place or size, scope, variety of product? Variety / specialty.
sure.
Or types.
So is this overall just scope, like, so manage, like, I see one is security. Should we just take security out of there? I mean, it's not really relevant for a liquor store. I mean, except for, ID thing, security is really not an issue.
But I guess that's what I think we were thinking, Michael, was the serving to minors, right? Is that something we want to know how they're going to prevent sale to minors?
I think we also have to take into account that a liquor store is probably significantly cash, probably a more likely to be held up.
I don't think the expectation is that it has the same level of security by any means, but
Yeah.
that there should be some security still.
Sure. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't think they need an armed guard, but we probably would expect them to have. I'd like, it would be a defining or a determining factor if one, had CCTV set up with, links to the police station and the other had nothing involved.
I may try to find, I went through a process like this in Attleboro. To try to get a liquor license in Attleboro, and their vetting process, it wasn't even like this. It was a lot less. So, okay, that's,
So Michael, this is also gonna go to select board next. So this is kind of, you know,
Okay.
our
Yeah,
first stab at it. I think you folks can, obviously you're the ones deciding ultimately who's gonna get the license, right? So what criteria are important to you? I think I'd rather have extra information here that
right.
board can take out and say, no,
That-
we don't care about that, than not have enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's vetting them, trying to vet them to the point of, okay, we've answered every question. So when it gets to the select board, it's kind of a, you guys have vetted the ED, not you guys, the EDC has vetted them. So the select board just gets all their questions answered.
Right, and kind of distinguishes one from another, you know what I mean? Like to give you a ranking or
Yeah, absolutely.
that kind of thing.
Operating hours should probably be one of the questions.
I'm sorry, Cody, you breaking up on me now.
The
Oh.
operating hours should be one of the
Yeah,
questions.
that's already set by the state. I mean, the town.
Yeah, no, the town does set that. Is it?
Yeah, the police-
already
the
set
police
within the
Yeah.
bylaws? Okay.
Anything else that we would want to see with regards to the management operation of it?
But Cody, to that point, we don't have right now in town, our 10 o'clock is our shut off point for liquor licenses. There's only, I think there's only there's only two places that serve that are full liquor service licenses that are past 8 o'clock. I mean, there's one major one, the last license we gave out closes at 7 o'clock on a Saturday.
Denise, how are you editing? All of a sudden, these lines started popping up with your name next to it. Can you see those red lines?
I accidentally hit something in the bottom of my screen and then I was trying to swipe it. That's why.
I guess she didn't like it. She did it with red and she's just scratching it out.
And it's permanent there. I can't even.
I
That's
don't know.
kinda weird.
I need to know how to get rid of it. Hang on a minute.
Is it on your document or is it just on the Zoom screen?
It's
Just
gotta
It's
be the
on
Zoom
my
screen.
it's on my iPhone screen. Yeah, the Zoom screen.
Yeah, so I don't think it'll be there later. We'll just have to live with it.
All right, we'll work around it. Anything else that we think we would want to see with regards to management and operations of the business? All right. Plan for positive community impact. Do we want to leave this, limit it, edit it all? It's
I'll probably take
sort
it
of
out.
it's sort of specific. You know, it would be nice to know, you know,
Maybe one generic question, like, do you have any plans to, but I would get rid of the specifics, but maybe just one very general question.
I think you're right, Denise. It's just one of those, do you plan to, how do you plan to, do you plan to return something or be part of the community or whatever? I don't know what the exact question is, but.
all right, I'm going to put it up under the management and operations so that it's not a separate section. Unless somebody disagrees.
I agree.
Okay.
I'm afraid to touch my screen now, though.
Rather than impact, could we just say positive community benefits? That might be a better
Benefits. Yeah,
term.
less marijuana-ish. Okay. All right, application review, may conduct a preliminaries for screening to determine their general compliance with the submission requirements and the review criteria outlined in A, which we'll get to. In the preliminary screening, can be used to call applicants deemed less qualified, present applications. Following this, a detailed review will take place, making a recommendation to the select board, right? We may invite respondents. We can assign rankings, weight, criteria. Deem what's in the best interest of the town. Anybody meeting those requirements will be recommended to the negotiation of there isn't any host community agreement, correct?
Wouldn't it be the license itself?
Of a license. Okay.
No, but it's a great question, right? I mean, well, the license itself is the contract, but the understanding, memo of understanding between the town and this, that you try to, everything that you're going to do, you're kind of going to do, right? I mean, we haven't had that, and not that it's binding. I'm not sure how binding it would be, but if you say that you're gonna, I mean, the reason we're looking at this is because the lack of variety of liquor stores and the shortage in certain areas. But if we're asking them about community impact, or what are they going to give back to the community, or they're going to be open during certain hours, I would love to see them try to maintain that. Right? I mean, is there a way? I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think it could be binding, but I would like to see some kind of agreement, wouldn't you? I mean, it may be a hurdle that maybe it's useless, but.
Well, couldn't the license reflect that?
Licenses between the Abcc and this, and basically, well, the only thing that they need to do is, I don't believe, Paul, and I could be wrong, besides the things that are state law, I think those are the only things. I don't think you can put like riders on the license.
And you
Also,
can't, or to revoke it would take something pretty serious, I imagine, right? Like a serving
Yeah.
underage,
I
repeatedly.
mean, to revoke a liquor license is almost an act of God.
Yeah.
They'll give you a second chance, They'll suspend it, and then they'll renew it. I mean, it takes a lot.
But Michael, doesn't the select board also issue a license for liquor stores?
We do, but all we can do is we can vote on the license. We
So I
vote on the
switched-
license. We don't necessarily vote on the parameters of the license. That could be an agreement of some sort. So we could say there's two things. We come to an agreement, and we could make a motion basically based on the memo of understanding or whatever it is. We're going to approve that license based on the memo of understanding. If you don't meet that license, and I would have to check to see legal, does that memo of understanding have any grounds to withdraw the license if they don't meet their obligations? Right? I mean, because we would have to petition the Abcc to pull the license. Massachusetts does it all wrong, right? We should be able to pull a license if we don't think it's in the benefit of the town, but we can't typically do that. It's an asset.
I would say that's more of a decision for the select board if they want to put some sort of, as you said, it's fine to put something in writing to have some sort of understanding, but if it's not enforceable, I'm not sure. I think that's a decision. I think that's a decision the select board needs to make of whether that's worth it for you to include as part of the process or not.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see some kind of community, a community license agreement or a memo of understanding or something that's done and decided on before. And it's not even going to be close to a marijuana one. It's not a marijuana one, right? We know that's so uncommon. This may be just certain things that are said, right? I don't even know what would be in it per se.
All right. So
If our
sorry.
liquor stores, would you say, and we don't have to name names or anything, but would you say any of them really do anything to help the community in terms of even a similar way of marijuana? Are they just?
Yeah, I think it's done differently. I think it's done through sponsorships, right? I think, you know, most of the liquor stores sponsor youth sports programs.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that. I think that's how it's done. I don't think it's as impactful as what's laid out by the CCC regarding marijuana. But you know, but that doesn't mean that we don't have an expectation of that, right? I mean, you know, this is our opportunity to get to finally start the ask, right? And maybe that's what, you know, and you know, one of the questions that would be interesting to say is, if a liquor license is sold in this town, can now we apply that, right? That, you know, that there's, all right, you just sold a liquor license. For the select board to approve it, we would like to establish a memo of understanding or a community host agreement or a community license agreement, whatever we call it. You know, it may not be legal, guys, and I'll surrender. It may not be legal. I don't know. But what would be great is if there was some kind of expectation of that liquor store to be a citizen of the community.
I do think it's interesting that the way that we phrased in here, plans for positive community benefits, if any, I think that is somewhat telling, because we're not guiding them in any specific way. So I think a company that really does want to get involved, or has, you know, in a different location gotten involved in the community, I think that would be telling, just to hear their response, right? You're not saying, will you do X, Y, and Z, which they just say yes. You're asking them to kind of come up with and initiate, how are you going to benefit the community?
Right. I mean, this is an asset assigned to the community that we're selling to, or that we're letting a business apply for or transfer or approve. There should be something. This is a benefit. This isn't like me just starting a business in town. This is a privilege to come to town to sell. You have to come to the town to get the right and the privilege to sell liquor in the town. So I think it's well within our rights. The question is legality.
I think we be careful treading on that water. I think that's being litigated in a couple different areas, right? So
possibly, right? Is
I
it
think
bribery
the
for the
legal issues may
license?
prevent us- I get the intent, but I think the legal issues may prevent us from being able to do something like that.
Yeah, Denise, I recognize that, right? Is it pay to play, right? Is it considered pay to play, right? Is it bribery? Is it, you know, if it's not, and we have the right to come to an agreement with this, I think we should try to go down that avenue. The question is the legality of it. If it is legal, I think we should go down that road.
It's certainly smart to get legal involved with all of this, but if these are public benefits, just like when we get projects in, if there's a connection to a particular public benefit, you know, we're going to ask for access to a trail or some natural amenities. So it's, you know, I don't know that it would fall under that pay to play. It's just, we see that, and in this case, you're not demanding it. It's just asking, you know, do you have, just putting it on their radar, there are things that you can do to help benefit the community.
And I think, you know, to that point, when what was the appliance store? I'm blanking on their name, that came before us.
Yale.
Yeah. I mean, they were upfront about saying, listen, you know, this is how it's going to benefit your community, right? We have all these workers that are going to be going to local establishments. We're very involved in the community, and kind of give us examples of how it may not be a specific financial, but just in general, how are they going to be good neighbors? How are they going to be, you know, positive members of the community?
Right. It's not, you know, it's a public amenity. It's how can the public benefit from your being here? And again, it's really just throwing out to them the idea that, you know, you have the chance to do some community benefits. And in today's world too, that stuff goes a long way as far as marketing businesses. You know, it's certainly beneficial when businesses are seen at the forefront of doing good things for the public.
I think I would love to get into a situation that we ask the questions of community benefit and ask as much as we possibly can within the legal rights of us, because these are, I think liquor licenses are funny business within town. And I think a lot of people, they get handed out and they're just not as enough return to the town. That's my personal opinion, of course. But, I think it's a right to have one of these within town. It's not it's not a right, it's a privilege, it's not a right. So I think it's important that if we can lay out an expectation, that we get the expectation out there.
Well, Michael, we might want to be careful about that because, well, we're not really clear. Before we were looking at our zoning bylaw to see, and actually liquor stores are not identified, but it's possible they are allowed. It may be possible they're allowed as of right. So again,
As
that's
a what? Say it
as
again,
of
Paul.
right. By zoning, it's possible they are. I can't tell you that right now.
Liquor
because
stores are, wow, that would be that's an interesting, that's really.
Well, they're illegally allowed use. I mean, so
Yes.
we want to be careful because
What you're saying is they could go anywhere.
no, our bylaw doesn't clearly identify liquor store, so we might be able to include it as a retail store. And retail stores are allowed in all of our commercial zoning districts. You couldn't put it in residential. You can't do that. I'm just saying where like a retail store is allowed as of right in village.
So Paul, are you guys, before the select board takes this up, are you guys taking that up as an adjustment to the bylaw? You probably should.
We weren't, and of course the deadline is just passed for town meeting, but could certainly flag it for the fall town meeting.
Because I would hate to see a liquor store showed up into a very heavy residential village commercial, and we're scrambling around where some neighbors don't want it there, right?
So we already have that though, on 140.
And 123.
Commercial.
I guess, yeah, the village commercial is the wrong.
Are they allowed in the village core? What's it called again, Paul? The new zone?
Oh,
The village.
Well, the key here, Sandy, is we'd have to look. I have to talk with Nick and maybe town council and go, what exactly would liquor store fall under? Would it be a retail? Or would it be that drinking establishment, which I would say probably falls under retail because you're not consuming on site. And so looking back at, I don't have that open in front of me right now, but my recollection was everything was from commercial, all the commercial districts plus industrial, it was a yes, that it would be allowed as of right. So, what that could mean is, let's say a liquor store goes into the shopping center. It probably wouldn't trigger a review by the planning board.
Because it's within the plan, because it's just a business popping into a current properly zoned.
Yeah, because in this case, it would be just going into an existing building. I mean, if there was a new shopping center that happened to have a liquor store in it, we would be reviewing the full shopping center.
Well, wasn't there just a public hearing for Norton Liquors to move into Roach Brothers Plaza? Why was there a hearing?
It wasn't planning board.
That was select board, wasn't it? Or did you guys meet on that or no?
I don't remember.
we
I
haven't-
remember seeing there was a public hearing, but I don't remember who called
It
it.
was a public hearing, but it happened. They asked for more time.
But that was through select board, right?
Yeah. So it's a transfer of license, look, because the license still is, that's just the transfer of license to a new location.
Got it.
But Michael, just so I'm clear, so going back to original point, the select board is only voting on the agreement that's through the state? Is that how it
That is
works?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
And the owner, like the change of ownership, but it's basically, we're approving it through the state.
Okay,
Do you know what I'm saying? It first has to pass the state's muster, then we get to do that. But it's realistically, it's really through the states. It's like a joint thing through the
Isn't that
state.
different from what Cody read earlier, where they have to get the local approval first?
They definitely have to. They have to apply, right? They have to apply through the state. They have to get select board and then ABCC. So that's not what I said. So they still have to apply through the state first, then the select board, then the ABCC.
Does the application have any sort of pre-approval at all, or is it just like you submit the application and then?
I don't know that. I from my own personal knowledge, I don't believe so. But I don't know that for a fact.
All right, so it's more just, here's the application, I'm going before the select board, and they don't look at it until you get the.
Yeah, you can't bring an application to the select board and then apply to the ABCC. It has to start with the ABCC, get town approval, then ABCC.
Okay.
Right, because they're going to shut you down if you don't pass background checks.
Hmm.
It won't even get to us. It won't even get to a select board if it doesn't pass background.
So they do some sort of checking.
Oh yeah.
Before it gets to, okay, that's interesting. And how do you usually check that, Michael? Do they have something in writing that it says they have some sort of
It's
apply to the state?
yeah. I don't really remember exactly, but I know there's background checks, there's the whole thing.
Hmm.
You're assigned when you apply, you're assigned to an officer.
All right.
All right.
Laura, can you go up to where does it say who makes up the MRS? I mean, we have to come up with a different name for that, right?
What is the marijuana? What's retail?
We like the MRS acronym, really.
Subcommittee.
What would alcohol and what would it be called? The license review committee? I don't like.
You missed that whole discussion. We
Sorry.
decided to
Okay.
we decided to
Nothing.
table or letting the select board decide what they want to call it.
By the way, that's dangerous territory.
All right, so it's the EDC, Director of Planning and Economic Development, and Town Manager with consultation by police, fire, and other department heads necessary.
Yeah, is there anybody else anybody we want either want to take out or add in? I mean, the police and fire, that's all kind of as necessary. So I don't think I think that can stay in, we could decide whether that's necessary or not.
Yeah.
Anyone else we wanted to add in? And do we want the
Nope.
entire EDC as part of this?
As part of what?
So we kind of went back and forth, if I remember correctly, on the MRS of whether it was just going to be a few members of the EDC or whether it was going to be the entire EDC. So I just wanted to bring back the conversation again. Would it be all of us on EDC?
Oh, I mean, who should be the composition of the group that reviews it you talked about?
Yes.
I would think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Who else would you pull in, I guess? I mean, it wouldn't be bad to have someone from planning, but they're so short-handed right now. I don't know that you can get them.
Well, and if they don't need to go to the planning board, what's the point?
Right.
Is everybody happy with that makeup? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Just gotta figure out what to call it. All right, so I'm gonna go back down. I just wanted to highlight one thing that I did change within this. So this formally said respondents meeting those qualifications will be recommended to the select board for negotiation of an HCA. And I have changed it to may be recommended to the select board for approval of a local license. Is that fair? I just didn't want to make that change unilaterally.
Okay, me.
What's it? Oh, is there addendum that we haven't talked about yet?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
there's more.
right.
So it goes, respondents deemed qualified by the MRS, recommended to the select board, may be invited to enter into negotiations with the board, which may include but is not limited to negotiation. So that's not really applicable.
Yeah, that which may, you can take that out, right? Actually, the whole thing. There's no negotiations, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
take the whole thing out.
negotiate. Oh, all of it?
Yeah,
Yeah, because all we're doing is recommending to select board and then.
Yep.
Right.
Augment the information. Presentations may be required. Board reserves the right to reject. Nobody's liable for costs. All right, compliance, failure to comply, ownership of the documents, public records, that's all good, that can all stay.
Like
And
that
then we have,
by legal.
where's
Right.
that?
I feel like that was all written by legal, like by.
Yeah, this
all
was,
right.
yeah. All right, and then we've got the addendum, which basically tells them how they're gonna be graded. So demonstrates knowledge and understanding of the licensing procedure. That's still fair.
So,
Uh,
Laura, did you reference the ABC? I remember the ABCC sending me a welcome package and it had like all that stuff. Did you
just
pull some of
back
this?
here. Where was it? I forget where it is. Oh, they were in here.
We took that out because we, that piece, because it wasn't really written right. So what are you asking? What are you looking for from,
No, I was just curious if and it sounds like you guys already did it. You reviewed kind of I'm trying to get to where it is, where it's just the step by step and the ins and the outs. It sounds like you guys have been well ahead of me on this, so I just wanted to see if you guys had a chance to kind of review that and implement that within here.
yeah, I think there was some discussion as to the process and what part, what you were looking for from, what you would be looking for on the select board from the ABCC. That's why I'd asked the question earlier about whether they provide some sort of,
Right.
say yes, that they meet the background checks and all those things.
Yeah, I think what the select board was trying to do is, that you guys had that a board, the EDC vetted them, and this was our recommendation, right? This was our recommendation out of the RFP process, right? Or were you guys just sending everyone over?
No, I think it's the same kind of thing we did before, where we'd sort of rank them or rate.
That's what I thought too. I'm sorry. That's kind of what I thought it was. That's what I think the process was. That the EDC would vet them.
Yeah.
Thoroughly. So.
All right, so do we need something in here then related to at least an application being started with the ABCC?
Yeah,
I'm on that page right now. So hold on one second. New licensee, 258 online. Monetary transfers, new retail application, manager application, vote of the identity, business structure documents, query authorization form, proof of. So let me read it. It says new licenses. There's a $200 fee, a monetary transmittal form, new retail application, manager application, vote of the vote of the entity, business structure documents, sole proprietor, business certificate, partnership agreement, corporation papers, query authorization form, proof of citizenship, supporting financial documents, legal rights to occupy a lease or a deed, floor plan, a butters notification, a advertisement. So basically you're letting people know additional information if necessary, utilizing formats provided or any affidavits and management agreement.
And that's all before they come before select board?
So that is, so this is a brand new license. The way that it was explained to me is you submit that stuff, but then you have to go to the town. Like the state has it, but then you take all your documents. Once they have it, you've submitted, you have to get approval from the town. I'll confirm that if you want. I still have a contact from the ABCC.
Yeah, I guess I'm just looking to see, is there an extra step that we're looking for where we just wanted some sort of certificate saying that they've submitted all their documentation to the state? Is that something you usually ask for, or is that something you?
It's a great question. I haven't been on enough. I've been on exchanges. Right, I voted on exchanges. I've never been on voting on new license. So
All right,
I can't answer that question.
I put in a placeholder question just so it's there that for further discussion.
So applicant statement, it's funny and now that I'm in the application, I hereby this application here on the application to the local authority, the alcohol beverage, and the alcohol. So you're submitting both applications at the same time for approval. It's right on the app. It's on page 11. It's on page 11 of the application. So you're submitting both at the same time. Instead, while the application is pending, I must notify license authorities of change of information. State the location description. Sounds like it's a dual. It's kind of they're both happening at the same time.
I'll leave it in there as a question.
Yeah, sounds
Maybe
good.
That's probably best, Laura.
Yeah. Okay, we're good there. Review criteria. So they need a knowledge and understanding of the licensing procedure. Demonstrates prior experience in relevant fields. Do we care? Relevant experience in relevant field.
Is it more of a question than a statement? Right?
Yeah, I think it was there because for the purposes of marijuana,
You need experience.
And with it being a new industry in the state, for liquor, I think it's less controlled. There's not a lot that goes into it. Yeah. Do they have relevant, do they have prior retail experience? Do we care? Does it matter?
My last name's O'Toole. I'm pretty sure I can sell a bottle of beer if I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we're more concerned with whether they have a sustainable plan, right? Whether we don't want someone who's going to come in and then go out in a week, right?
All right. So I'm going to strike the second bullet. Yes.
Yep, I think
Yes.
so.
Okay. All right. High quality, well-formulated management operation plan. That's good. High quality security plans. Do we want that as a standalone? Do we want to maybe incorporate it in the bullet above?
Yes, I think it goes with operation plans, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well-formulated management operations and security plans. Comprehensive plan to prevent diversion to minors, beverage. That's important. Demonstrates market and financial feasibility. That's fair. Acceptable development timeline and ability to bring the retailer to bring the establishment to a timely commencement. That's fair, no?
You're gonna make me go get my glasses, aren't you? I can't read that.
You need it bigger? I can make it bigger. How's that?
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the respondent has an acceptable development timeline and ability to bring the establishment to timely commencement. That's fair. Respondent has proposed location appropriate for the proposed use, given the scale and nature of the use, including but not limited to potential impacts on parking, traffic, and queuing of customers. That's all fair. Financial commitments, this we're gonna have to take out, I think, if everybody agrees.
Yeah. Go on.
Fits with the town's goal for geographic diversity in the locations.
Like, it seems wrong taking that out, but I just don't know how it's impactful, it seems wrong taking it out, but I mean, does it really apply?
Yeah, I guess, are we gonna weigh in the fact that there's other liquor stores in the vicinity, or I feel like they're kind of spread out already right now. So no matter where our new one goes, it's gonna be near something else.
Yeah.
Especially, it's not like we have two, right? This was kind of based on having two retail marijuana establishments. We have a lot more than two liquor licenses.
Oh, right. Okay. Is that
Right.
what we're going for? Is just the one?
Say it again? No,
That's
I'm
all we're going.
No, I'm saying we already yeah, I don't know how much I would look to see where the ones are currently. You know, how many liquor licenses do we have again?
9 or 11, I forget which.
So I guess I'm
9.
saying is before we had two marijuana licenses, so we don't want them right next to each other, and we need
We don't have 9 retail licenses. We've got 5, 6. We've got 6 all package license malt and wine, and then we've got I guess it is. I guess you're right. It's 11 altogether. It's 11, 5 beer and wine, and 6 full liquor. Make sure you do that. Those are big differences.
Yeah, we were kind of asking a question, Michael, about whether you needed this process for beer and wine as well, or just liquor. Like, is this? And I kind of feel like this would apply to both. If you wanted to use it for both, I know primarily it was meant for liquor, but I don't think there's much of a difference in terms of.
I think you apply it to both, but the beer and wine is. I mean, we're going to have a beer and wine license available in town, if we don't already.
Okay.
Right, and I mean, Bruce at Rolling Vine had his license available for what, 5 years. Right, nobody wanted it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not as big of a competition to get those.
No.
Yeah, I would take that out, Laura, because I think that was more based on the two retail marijuana not being near each other, but where we have a whole bunch more liquor stores, I don't know that we're going to consider that as much.
Okay. I think this one is specifically related to marijuana. Everybody agrees on taking it out.
Can I ask a question? When we were originally looking at the original proposal for the legislation, did we go down the discussion about splitting the town up and saying this part of town should have 2 licenses? Did we ever go down that road or no? Like, actually saying, like, here's a perfect example is Foxborough. Foxborough says the Rotary in Foxborough gets 3 licenses. Right? They can't be moved out of that Rotary. There are going to be 3 liquor licenses within the Rotary, and they do it because of the stadium too. I don't think we have that structure, so it may not be important. But it's, if you're looking at the plan long-term, does it make sense to do that, to say, you know, on 123, there should be 4 licenses. On 140, there should be 3 licenses.
Are
Did
you
we ever go
talking
down that? Did we
specifically
ever
liquor,
go,
or are you talking beer and wine also?
let's right now, let's just focus on beer, liquor.
Because I feel like, don't they move a lot? Or not a lot?
Yes, but it's up to the town to decide. We could easily decide to say, okay, going forward, this is how it's going to be. And if one of them comes available, we can say this is the only zone that license could be moved to.
I guess I'd hate to restrict, like, I'm just thinking about the one that's moving now. They find a better location, you know, and if it's not in there.
But if we think it's best for the town, like realistically, he's moving it there, and that's fine. It fits a need. But what happens if there was another liquor store there? We can't say no to that. The select board could say no, they could deny the transfer to the location, but you're opening up a slippery slope if you don't have a bylaw or you know, something set, right?
So I guess
Realistically, what we should be doing is saying
That
that
one-
liquor license should go down towards what were the side of town we're trying to get a liquor license.
Yeah, so I guess to your point though, once somebody wants to move, you can't really, there's not a lot to do to stop them. Is that what you're saying?
Right now, you can't really stop them,
Right.
right? But if we said, no, the liquor license that we passed a bylaw, or I forget exactly how it would be, like Foxborough says, when a liquor license came available, like when all the liquor license, the common, the only place you could move that liquor license would be into the common.
So that would be more kind of a, yeah, so you're saying like more of a bylaw kind of change, town meeting bylaw change, right?
Yeah. Because it came up, he actually, the lawyer that was on last week actually brought that up as a point of discussion. I was thinking about it, I was like, maybe that's what we should be looking at more than before. We should make sure, to like Paul's point, it should be identified in the bylaws as a liquor store in the, you know, in the zoning things, not a retail store. We should be looking and saying, these are the areas and this is how they should be spread out, and kind of do the homework before we add one just to add one.
Yeah.
Because realistically, we add this, well, this one's going to be different because it's going to be probably site specific. But here's a quick question. Can the produce barns license move somewhere? I'm not sure if it can.
Oh, because that was a special one, right? Yeah.
Special license, it was the last special license.
Yeah. Yeah, so Michael, I would say these are questions, like, because you said the attorney brought that up, maybe the select board talks about that, sees it,
Yeah.
see if there's any appetite for that kind of a bylaw change. I think EDC might be able to help, you know, with that language, or help you out if you need it, but I think.
Well, the reason I bring it up here is, listen, this committee's done a lot of hard work on this liquor license already, right? I don't want to blow up something that, I don't want to blow this up just to, you know, I mean, there's plenty of naysayers, right? But is this something that, what I'm saying, is it resonating with anyone or not really?
I guess I don't really, again, because it's not just one or two, like there were with the marijuana, right? And I feel like we don't have a lot of different options for where these places can go. And if they run into a bad landlord, or, you know, some kind of issue with their current space, I just don't want to see a successful liquor store be blocked from moving if that's what they, you know, that's.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I don't feel strongly about restricting the movement
Okay.
either. I mean, if they move to an area where it's already overpopulated with liquor stores and beer and wine, then it's going to be harder on them because they've got more competition in the same area, right? So it behooves them to try to find some place that's a little bit more spread out, but that's just
Okay.
their call to make.
And I think it's also that we have such limited vacancy throughout town that, you know, we just have such a, you know, our stores are filled. We don't have, you know, vacant storefronts. So I would just throw out there that keep it more flexible will probably lead to a, a store coming in. If we just restrict it to one section, it might not even have any potential for current potential for a store to go in.
Right, and I think like to your point, Polly, with for example, Blue Star, right? So if we
Right.
had a bylaw that didn't even exist, several years ago. If we had looked at the bylaw and where they should go and where they shouldn't go, that probably wouldn't have been a consideration. And not that it necessarily is going to go there now, but I'm just saying like things change, the climate, the developments change. So I would just hate to lock somebody into a location that wasn't working for them if they were successful otherwise. Is that fair, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to, because I wanted to almost bring it up last week when the select board meeting, but when you're on a committee, you're on two different committees, and the committee that you were on, you didn't bring it up with the committee that you were on that's working hard on something, and so I didn't want to throw it until I mentioned it here. Like, is that something that we should be focusing on more than just the liquor license itself? No, that's perfect. I appreciate the feedback.
Did we finish this section, Laura? Lost
Not
track.
yet. Yeah. We got sidetracked. I was proposing to strike this
Yeah.
clause and I don't think I got an answer.
I agree with that.
Okay. And then what do we feel about the last bullet?
Yeah, I think that's a nice catch-all, right?
Okay.
It sort of gives you the little flexibility to say, yes,
Yep.
we like to cover this one, right?
What are the goals though? What I mean, that's open-ended, but what? I don't.
I
Is
think
the
I think it changes depending upon which license, when the license comes up for availability.
but what do you hope to get out of that criteria? And don't these others meet those goals? Or unless the select board has some other select board priorities.
Wouldn't we just deny it if they didn't meet our goals? We would just.
I guess it just, as if things change, if there's anything maybe we forgot in this list, it gives us a little extra.
It's the catch-all.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm thinking it is. As I don't know if that's,
Well, kind of, along the lines of this last one. I mean, we're going to have to strike this unless the ABCC has some sort of similar economic empowerment or social equity status for applicants, which I don't think they do. So this formally said, in the event we had a tie, this is what we might consider. And then maybe move that bullet down here instead.
yeah, I think
Or we just strike this entirely.
I think just, leaving it there is fine too.
Okay, so I'm going to strike that because that's not applicable. And that's it. That's the end.
After 1933, it probably would have been, but we're well beyond that point.
Yeah.
Prohibition.
I think it's a good, broad, general category that gives a select board a potential out and the ability to potentially avoid a lawsuit. We could just say it did not meet the overall goal of the town. And we told them it was going to be graded on that. Now, it could be as simple as, they wanted to build a liquor store directly across the street from produce barns. Does that really meet with the overall goal of the town?
They're exclusively gonna sell nips.
Yes.
I would say, Cody, that would meet the goals of the town.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say hold on, time out. McGillicuddy's, the full collection of McGillicuddy's, every flavor imaginable. I'm in.
All of the fireball.
Yeah, again, I'm fine with it. I think, most of them will probably, if we rated them, I don't know what we did last time, 1 to 5 or 1 to 4, whatever it was, most of them would probably be a high ranking for that. Maybe it's just if there's something that stands out about one that isn't necessarily laid out in the others, that kind of covers it. So sort of the opposite what you were saying, Laura, not just to take care of the
Provide cover. Yeah.
lower ones, but also if anybody really stands out to maybe
Yeah.
there's something in our master plan, Paul, that fits in here.
Yeah. We'll add the booze element to the master plan.
The booze factor.
Booze and pot element.
If we're doing
Like,
this, if we're focusing on booze, marijuana, might as well just go casino as well. Can we petition the state for the casino as well?
Yeah.
Or
This is for any of you who've ever watched the British TV show, absolutely fabulous. This is the AbFab element, the booze and pot. I haven't seen it, but it is one of the funniest shows.
Like a tattoo and piercing place.
Oh. Believe it or not, our bylaw does cover that.
Yeah.
All right. So are we happy with the draft that we've got in place, other than the particular language and how it's referred to?
Mhm.
Okay.
I think so.
All right. So am I sending this to you, Sandy, or am I going to send this to Renee? You want to deal with it?
Yeah, we can
make
send
sure,
it.
All
make
right,
sure
I'm
you
gonna
include Denise's red marks on it.
I'm going to stop sharing if everybody's okay.
It's good.
All right. All right. Let me do that now while I'm thinking of it.
My 4th hour of
Anything
meetings.
else to add to the process or any other pieces of information? Okay, so I think Renee was asking if we can forward that to you and the select board for your next meeting to review and go
Yeah.
over, and then you can kind of come back to us with whatever next steps you want us to do.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I know that this is something I know we want to get done. Make sure we get it all wrapped up before town meeting.
Mhm.
Before the warrant closes, actually, before town meeting.
Just an FYI, you can still order delivery from Wines and More. And it is direct from them.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, huh.
Paul, I just want to make sure you made that face. The warrant, you can't add anything to the warrant, but we can make changes to the articles on the warrant. You gave me this like, what do you mean the warrant's
4 o'clock
closed?
Monday.
Yeah, I meant to say the finalize the wording of the.
Yeah.
Right. Denise, do we have any minutes at all to approve?
Sadly, no. I know I owe you guys a bunch. Sorry.
I don't mind that. Makes the meeting shorter.
Yeah.
That's fine. All right. Anybody have anything else? I think that's everything on the agenda. No? All right. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Move.
And Laura, motion, and
Any second.
Denise second. So Laura,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Michael,
Aye.
and Denise.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So thanks everyone. I guess March 23rd is our next meeting. I will see you all then.
Night all. Be
Night.
well.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good night.
Thank you for what you do.